Hey, what's up guys? Justin here and welcome back to 65 Drums. Today's going to be a bit more of a laid back episode. No playing footage or anything here. This is going to be more of me talking about the lesser known brands and different electronic drum sets that I recently got a chance to play at NAMM, but I didn't want to make like a 20-minute dedicated video about each one of these products. Okay, so the first company I got to talk about is Muzzio Drums. I believe I'm saying that name right. So this company has been around for a while, but they don't have like a giant following yet. I'd talked to the owner on the phone before, but I'd never actually played one of his drum sets in person. And I almost didn't play one of these drum sets because they look so similar to an acoustic drum set, I nearly walked right past them. A lot of the elements of these drum sets, they look sweet and it was really fun to play, but not many elements of these drum sets are able to be purchased yet. So for example, these cymbals right here, they're still in beta. So very helpfully, on the back wall of the booth, they had all the different finish options that they're currently making these drum sets in. Lots of different looks. It's not really in your face. It's more of like a laid back, sort of conservative look that I really do like. The mesh heads are these 3-ply mesh heads. It's a really nice, fun to play on 3-ply mesh head. They have their own branding on it. So when it comes to electronic drum companies that specialize in conversion drums, where they take acoustic drums and turn them into electronic, you'll see a wide range of pricing. So on the low end of the market as far as pricing goes, you have Jobecki. They specialize in taking, cheaper drum shells, putting in drum triggers that don't cost an arm and a leg to manufacture, and they try to make something that's more on the affordable end of the spectrum. And then on the opposite side, you have like Drum Tech or Field. They specialize in making really high-end electronic conversion drum sets. And then of course there are other companies in the middle. I don't know about the pricing of different finish options, but if you go on like eDrumCenter.com, a 5-piece is about like $2,000. A 4-piece is $1,700, and a 6-piece is $2,300. But this only comes with the drum shells. So on top of that, you got to spend $1,000 or more on cymbals, and then you got to spend $1,000 or more on a nice drum module. So as you can see, the price can creep up to $4,000 incredibly quickly. But that's because they're using really nice drum shells. They specialize in using premium acoustic drums and then turning them into electronic. So while Drum Tech uses sonar shells, and that's why their stuff is really expensive, this company uses a company called Doc Sweeney. So Doc Sweeney makes like these really nice acoustic drums. I actually saw some of their drum sets, and they use some sort of like steam bending process to make their shells. And because of all that stuff, these are going to be a little bit more expensive. This is another company that's making electronic drums that don't look stupid. I love the fact that we have more and more companies making beautiful, really eye-catching electronic drums. And especially those metal cymbals, that's the one thing that actually stands out to people. We've all seen a 22-inch electronic bass drum by now, but those cymbals, for some reason, like the way they have the metal on the back of the cymbals, it's very eye-catching, and when I posted a couple of photos of these drums, people immediately were asking me, what company is that? When I was talking to the owner of the company, he did mention that they're working on their own custom drum module. Right now they're just using an ATV drum module on like their showroom floor and stuff. And they're actually sampling the acoustic drums that they're using. So they're using Doc Sweeney samples inside of the drum module that they're making. So I'm excited to see where this company takes stuff. I think more competition is always a good thing. I gotta say, this next drum set is pretty crazy. I don't know why, but I've been thinking about this for months after I got a chance to play it. Not because I necessarily recommend anyone buy it, and I looked online. I actually can't find anywhere that's selling it, so it must still be a prototype or something. So I'm walking past this company that makes mostly acoustic drum sets, but they do have this electronic drum set up on this platform. It's an acoustic style drum set with rubber cymbals, a drum module, but with acoustic drum heads on it. So I was like walking around it, watching some other guy play it, and we were both kind of confused looking at it and trying to see what was up with it, because some of the pads were triggering electronic sounds in the headphones. But the top tom pad wasn't actually making a sound. It would make an acoustic sound, obviously, but wasn't triggering anything inside of the drum module. So we were wondering, is something turned off inside of the drum module? Is this broke? What's happening with this? We called over to the person that was running the booth and we asked, well, why can't we hear this top tom pad? And she said, oh, you need the drum key. Apparently, this has a rubber pad inside of each one of those drums. You actually turn a drum key in the side of the shell, and it raises this rubber pad until it presses it against the underside of the acoustic drum head. So when you turn the drum key on the side of the drum shell, you turn it into electronic drum mode. And then when you release it, it plays as an acoustic drum. So it's a really, really interesting idea. I've never seen any company try something like this before. You have rubber pads inside the drums, you turn them on, they press against the drum shell or the drum head, turning that into electronic, you release it, and now it's back to being an acoustic drum set. It wasn't really that great of an implementation though, because it kind of made the playing surface feel a little bit too tough. It felt like I was playing on a really, really hard rubber pad. So I didn't really like the way they actually implemented it, but the whole idea was cool. I know it's probably a prototype. I went looking on AliExpress and Alibaba. I see there are other acoustic drum sets, which are pretty inexpensive, but I can't actually find this specific electronic drum set right now. But the whole idea was very, very interesting. So who knows? The only downside, of course, is that because of aerodynamics and the way sound is created inside of acoustic drum shells, if you have a humongous metal object with a rubber pad inside of a shell, it's going to make it not sound as good when it's in an acoustic drum form. But still, I can't stop thinking about this drum set. It was really, really interesting to play. Okay, so moving ahead to the next thing, did you realize there is a company out there that actually makes inflatable electronic drums? No, I'm not kidding. So I realize this is for kids, but I had to include it. I just found it to be really, really interesting and funny. Okay, so moving ahead to the next one, we have Dawes Drums. So apparently this is a very small company that specializes in making rubber pads. Not regular rubber pads that you can buy for 20 bucks somewhere. These are like premium electronic rubber pads. They can make them in whatever color you want. They're all very, very custom. They're like 130 bucks or something a piece. And they make them in like different sizes. So I think there's like a 10-inch version, there's an 8-inch version. They say they're working on a wireless drum pad sometime in the future. But yeah, they just specialize in premium rubber pads. If you want something that's premium and you have a certain color combination you're going for, maybe this company is worth looking into. The rubber that they're using feels very, very natural to play on. I really like the texture, the way it feels when you're playing on it. But yeah, it's just a rubber pad that can be whatever color that you want. They've been doing this for a very, very long time. I actually saw one of these pads on one of Neil Peart's kits, and there are other famous drummers that have used them over the years as well. Playing electronic drums, it can feel a little bit sterile. There's like a weird disconnect. And it's because electronic drums are quiet. Not much vibration happens there, and it just feels a little bit strange. There are some gadgets out there that help make electronic drums feel more like acoustic drums though. And those attach to your drum throne, and they kind of shake the whole thing whenever you're playing. I understood this in principle, but I had never actually used one before. But recently I got to sit down and use a Porter and Davis drum throne. So this is called the BC Gigster. So the best way I can describe this gadget is, imagine you're on a stage. When you hit really hard on the kick drum, your entire platform shakes a little bit. That's kind of what it's like to use one of these things. Now the problem here is that it's built into the drum throne. This is like a premium product. It's 842 bucks. For most people, this is kind of ridiculous. You probably shouldn't buy this. For the average drummer, if you like this concept, you could buy a Pearl butt kicker. You can buy them used for like 200 bucks. That's more within reach of the average drummer, but it's still a really cool idea. My only problem is that it's one extra cable and one extra box that you have to add to your electronic setup. I'm already covered in cables over there, and if I have to go add an extra box and then an extra cable that runs up to my drum throne, I just think that's adding more and more stuff. But for some people, this might make or break the experience of playing electronic drums. So if you ever go to a Guitar Center or Sam Ash and you see one of those off in the distance, go try it out. It's really, really fun to use. Okay, so moving ahead to the next two products, we have eDrums and eDrum. I'm grouping them together because they're a really similar concept. So eDrums, what you have are drumsticks with little balls on the end, and then you have a camera that tracks how you're playing in 3D space. You also have these little things that you put on your shoes, and basically what the camera is doing is it's looking for the light reflecting off of those surfaces. But now, instead of just playing and then hearing what what you're hearing, they actually have a VR mode. I didn't actually test this out because I'd already reviewed eDrums a long time ago, and I don't know, for some reason I just wasn't interested enough to try it out, but I thought I'd mention it because this might be interesting for some people. You can actually trigger Superior Drummer 3 or Addictive Drums through eDrums. So it's pretty powerful, but I just never really loved it. I played it because I wanted to review it, but it's just hard to really get connected to air. That's really what you're playing. You're playing on air. Okay, so the next thing is called Free Drum. Now, the whole idea behind this is very similar to eDrums. They just do it with different technology. Instead of having a camera that you have to plug into your laptop and then a ring light and then that has to shine and like reflect off of your drumsticks and your feet and everything and having to have the lighting in a certain way, instead of all that mess, they just have these little gadgets that you attach to your drumsticks and then your feet. And then they have gyroscopes inside of those gadgets, and that's how it kind of can tell where your sticks are in 3D space. So it's very, very similar to eDrums in the effect, but I think that this is a little bit easier to set up. You don't need the camera, you don't need the lighting, it's just a little bit simpler. And I believe it can connect just to your phone. So it's a really cool concept, but again, you're playing on air, so it just didn't really connect with me. And you also, with both of these products, they have the same problem. You have to learn how to play in midair just right, or else it'll sound like you're a toddler. You could be playing drums for 30 years, and then you have to learn how to play on air. So it's that sort of disconnect that kind of makes me say it's not really for me. But apparently some people do love these products. So if you want to play on air, these are the two products to look at. Someone actually commented on my review of eDrums and said that he actually plays this on stage. So it is possible to use this in a professional environment if you do all the setup correctly. Okay, so the next thing that I got a chance to try out was the Roland M-Mats rack by Randy May. So I've actually made a dedicated video on this when it first came out, basically just covering it, what are the benefits, the pros and the cons. So if you want to know everything there is to know about this drum rack, go watch my dedicated video on it. But basically, this is like a really different take on a drum rack. I'll actually put some photos or video up on screen right here. As you can see, your drums aren't just attached to the drum rack. They're like suspended in air by this special mount. My favorite thing about the drum rack is that you can set up your cymbals and then they're all on hydraulics. So you release the stand somehow and then it shoots up into the air at whatever height you want to set it at. So it just makes setting up everything a lot quicker. Or it makes you look cooler while you're setting stuff up. I think that's the more accurate way to describe it. You just have to decide whether or not this is worth $1,500. That's how much the entire thing costs. Now it does come with like a custom wiring snake, so that's cool and everything, but yeah, it's $1,500. It's something that comes with certain versions of the Roland TD1DMK KVX. So this is meant to be premium, premium, premium. I'm just not a giant fan of the way it looks. They have a special like tubing that they use. I think it's really, really lightweight, but I don't know, it's just not the aesthetic that I want. Of the different drum racks, I just really like the current one that Roland already has on their regular TD50 line. But what if you don't want to spend $1,500, but you still really like the idea of having like a magnetic floating tom design? Well, you can actually buy that stuff separately. So each one of these mounts is about $140. You can go buy them on Sweetwater right now. It's called the RM Remats Magnetic Tom Mount for the MDS 50kV drum stand. So you'll get the floating tom mount, but of course, because it doesn't come with the full stand, your tom won't levitate up and down to the height that you need it at. So I feel like I'm just talking about uber expensive stuff today, but it is what it is. Okay, so coming out of left field here, let's talk about something from the company Nord. You know, the keyboard company? Believe it or not, they make a drum multipad, not a drum sample pad, because I don't believe you can import your own samples into this. But that's not the whole point of its existence. The whole point is that you can create your own drum sounds with different tones, the amount of clickiness and different stuff. It's basically a synth for drum enthusiasts. So I'm not going to pretend this is some brand new product. It's actually been out for a while. It's just that I haven't gotten a chance to play one until very, very recently. A lot of times music stores will put on the showroom floors what the big companies lobby them to put on the showroom floors. So Roland is, you know, hot on the heels of Guitar Center trying to get them to put TD17s on the showroom floor. Nord is more into keyboards, so they don't care about that stuff as much, so you don't really come across these at many Sam Ashes or music stores in general. But the whole concept of this is very, very interesting. So this is a synthesizer for drummers. They have different like sounds and effects that you can blend together and make your own custom sounds and assign them to one of the 6 zones. I was also using this with the Roland KT10. That's like my favorite silent kick drum pedal. It's really, really awesome. And again, it works with this. And you can plug in probably one from Yamaha or whatever because it's just one piezo, so pretty much any kick drum pedal should be compatible with this. In addition to the fact that it has lots of cool sounds and you can create your own sounds, I also liked the playing surface. It felt very nice, it was solid, it wasn't overly soft, and I just think this is really cool. It's about 700 bucks. I feel like it should be a little bit cheaper than that, especially because this doesn't do everything under the sun. It's more of like a specialized product. Okay, so the next drum set that I recently got a chance to play was the Roland TD1DMK. Gotta say, I have no idea why they named it the TD1DMK. They have the Roland TD1K, KV, and then DMK. But with other drum sets, they have like the TD50K, KV, KVX. That's their naming scheme, K, KV, KVX. But they just put DMK in there for no reason, confusing people that are like searching and wanting to buy stuff. I don't know why they did that. But regardless, I'm really happy that Roland came out with this drum set because they've never really made a $700 all-mesh drum set until now. This is the first time they've done this. They're becoming more and more aggressive trying to grab attention from other companies that are creeping up and taking their market share. So I'm glad they're doing that. The competition for this drum set would probably be like I don't know, like the Alesis Surge Mesh for 500 bucks. So this is 200 bucks more. But the resale value of this drum set will be better down the road. When you sell this in 3 years on Facebook or Craigslist, you'll get more money out of it. And also the pads will probably hold up a little bit better. But on the other hand, the Alesis one will give you a 10-inch snare. This one does not have a very large snare on it. So it did feel a little bit small to me. I would say this is great for kids that are learning how to play electronic drums for the first time. If you're a full-grown adult, you probably want something that's a little bit larger though. By the way, thank you so much for watching all the way to the end of the video. I really, really do appreciate it. Click subscribe and the like button if you haven't already, and I'll see you all again in a few.